Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here with another Legacy video. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com and we'll take a look at them after round 1. So it's not very often that I build and play my own decks these days. Most of the time I'm doing viewer submitted deck lists and I really enjoy doing that, but today we're actually going to play a Phil Brew. Just from scratch, off the top of the dome, I need to know whether or not this is a good idea. So the initiative has been taking over Legacy, and I love playing mono black decks. There are mono black cards that take the initiative. So what I'm wondering is, can we use the mono black shell in a slightly different way to take the initiative and then play that sort of game? I'm not sure if this is going to be better than ramping up Shouldered or just playing Leyline Helm in game 1, but this is something that I wanted to try out. I kind of had a chat with someone. I'm going to keep their name anonymous here in case I give away some tech that they're going to have. Talking about Passageway Seer as something that might be playable in the regular mono black deck, and that kind of led to the creation of this video. As a quick aside, Ravenloft Adventurer was something that I wanted to put into this deck list, but it's not actually on Magic Online. Womp womp. Sad fill noises. So we're going to be playing with Passageway Seer and common card Vicious Battle Rager instead. Most of the supporting cast here is things that I have played in the mono black shell, but I do want to highlight kind of a couple of key differences between this and the normal mono black deck that I usually play. Normally when I play the mono black decks, I play Chrome Mox and Dark Ritual as my acceleration. I'm going to add Lotus Petal to this today. Getting to 4 mana and taking the initiative is really strong. I want to do that as consistently as possible. And to increase that consistency, I'm going to be playing Agadeem's Awakening, aka Agadeem the Undercrypt here, so that I can have a land that I can imprint to Chrome Mox. This does mean sometimes that I'm going to take a hefty amount of damage from my lands, especially if I have to like play Ancient Tomb into this or something like that, and like Thoughtseize is in here as well. We're going to see how it turns out. We do have a relatively large lifelinker that can maybe help things out. In terms of changing roles, Dauthi Voidwalker is usually in this deck as a way to combo with Helm while also being like very reasonable game 1 graveyard hate, and that's very important because cards like Murktide Regent are quite popular in the format. But here it's in the deck because it has Shadow, and Shadow basically means unblockable by Legacy standards, and that's real good. I can keep taking the initiative back every turn if I lose it. So we'll kind of see how this goes. One other thing that can kind of break parity with the initiative, if I have an opposition agent in play, that can really make my opponent like wanting to do Throne of the Dead 3 or even just the basic land search that's the first stage of the Undercity very unappealing. So they might not even want to take the initiative in some cases. As far as the sideboard goes, I am going to play the Leyline Helm combo in the sideboard. And if you activate a Helm of Obedience for X equals 1 or more while you control a Leyline of the Void, it mills out your opponent. And then I'm going to play just some stuff for combo decks. Unlike a lot of the like Mono White or Boros Initiative decks, we're not playing something like Chalice of the Void or Thalia or Anointed Peacekeeper as like a true hate bear. We have some hateful things, but we don't have generic stuff. So I'm playing Inquisition and Surgicals in addition to Leyline to make sure that I have some more game versus combo, and then we're just going to have a couple of cards in for the fair creature decks. Alright, with that being said, I think we're going to hop into this league. This is very much an experimental deck list, so I will probably realize problems with it very quickly. But this is one of those things, like, I just kind of had the idea, like, as I was driving home today, and I was like, alright, I gotta know, is this viable? Anyway, would really love to hear your thoughts on this one today. If you have cool ideas or tech, please leave those in the comment. And as always, leaving likes on the videos are the easiest way to support me for free. Let's battle. Okay, I think I'll be keeping this opening hand here. I'm not sure how I'm going to play it out yet, but this hand is good. That's really good. It's also really hard to play. Always basic swamp. I think it's always dark. Oh, okay. It's just gonna resolve. think I'm gonna Dauthi now, since I know this is gonna resolve, and then put something batshit insane into exile. I'm a fucking villain. Cool. Alright. Good shit. Anyway, let's get Leyline Helm combo in here. I think... my opponent taking the initiative is kind of weird. I don't have so many cards to board in. I want to board in 13 cards. What do I least want against this opponent? My opponent reanimating an initiative creature is kind of rough. So that could be my starting point. Still leaves me with 5 more cards that I would need to board out. It could be Sudden Edict, and my plan could just be keep creatures out of play. It could also be Rotting Regisaur, as that is a scary creature for my opponent to reanimate as well. Yeah, I think my plan is keep creatures out of play, and eventually win with Helm. I can alternatively win with some small beats, and that's okay. Graveyards are covered. Absolute keep. There's a Leyline. Dauthi Voidwalker probably ends up going under this Chrome Mox. Might have to surgically extract my own Rotting Regisaur here. Yep. Okay, no immediate reanimation spell. Lotus Petal is interesting. Lotus Petal means I can play turn 1 Dauthi Voidwalker if I'm willing to drop Surgical on Rotting Regisaur, which I'm not sure that I am. I'm always playing an Ancient Tomb. Am I willing to play Dauthi Voidwalker? I think so. It's a very tough decision, though. Like, this is the cost of playing a bunch of Ancient Tomb-like cards. But this gets me a creature into play that's very relevant if my opponent just fetches a white land and then plays a Serenity. Okay, nice. We dodged, like, Animate Dead here. Cool. And we can just start clocking. I kind of wonder why my opponent kept their hand. They might have just had a turn 1 if I didn't have a Leyline. No Serenity here. I'm starting to think about whether or not I want to play that Ancient Tomb, or if I just want to hold that as a card in my hand for if I draw a Rotting Regisaur. I think I want to hold it. I'm already, like, very easily at enough mana for Helm activate if that's a thing that I need to do. Seems like opponent is flooding out. Ooh, it's Show and Tell. I don't think I put anything in here. There is a Grizzlebrand. I can beat this sometimes, but I'm gonna need a little bit more. Okay, that's fine. And opponent's going a little bit deeper. Looting is fine. It's possible that they forget that I have Dauthi Voidwalker in play and can cast something for free and put something super spicy into exile. They didn't here. That's not bad. Now, because of something weird like Hardcast and Archon, maybe I want to just put this into play. This has Shadow, so it can't be blocked. This puts my opponent to 2. My Sudden Edicts are currently boarded out. Alright, there's the formal life drop to 2. I'm going to drop down to 13 with this attack. My opponent will go up to 9. Animate Dead on Rotting Regisaur. That is occurring. And things aren't looking great. I will go ahead and play the Opposition Agent. I can still top deck a Helm for a kill. My opponent was maybe supposed to fetch there. So my situation is not good. I'm not going to win the race anymore. I'm maybe supposed to Dauthi Voidwalker, Faithless Looting right here, and try to find a Helm. That will kill my opponent. I think I'm going to do that. Alright, sacrifice. Oh no, they don't have the void counters on them because I also had Leyline. Okay, well, I messed that up. Okay, I'll chump block Rotting Regisaur this turn. And then I can have one more look at a Helm. Opponent has to discard a card here for the Rotting Regisaur. Probably not a problem, I imagine. And I'm fully reliant on the top of my deck being a Helm here. I have blanked on a lot of draws in a row. And I also gave my opponent one more set of draw 7s than I needed to. Because I didn't attack with Dauthi Voidwalker like I should have. Yep. My opponent is probably going to vomit something else into play. Sure. Yes. Hardcast Archon of Cruelty. Okay, sure. Yeah, I'm not scared of looting. Lots of lands over there. Actually, I guess there's a problem now, right? I don't have the mana to activate Leyline Helm now that I've taken that other hit. Yeah, now I have no outs. Alright, I'll concede to that. Second draw 7 would not have made a difference, but was still bad. Alright, top of the deck, not looking too great there. Okay, so we kind of saw the problem with having some large creatures here. It's a little bit better when I am on the play. Is it better for me to have Rotting Regisaur or some other creature? I think it's still Rotting Regisaur. I may have a little bit too much mana versus this deck, but I want to kill my opponent quickly. This hand is a keep. I will have to think about how I want to play it. I can play Leyline and turn 1 Rotting Regisaur, or I can play Leyline and turn 2 activate Helm for a win. The issue is that if my opponent has a discard spell, they just take my Helm and I don't actually ever get a kill with it that way. And then I've slowed down my clock by an entire turn by not deploying Rotting Regisaur. So I think I'm supposed to play Regisaur on 1. Alright, opening, Leyline, land, Dark Ritual, Rotting Regisaur, pass the turn. I have to think about whether or not I want to hold the Helm in my hand or whether or not I want to hold the second Agadeem's Awakening. Because of Show and Tell, I might want to hold Helm. Okay, sure. Uh-huh. Oh, please Show and Tell. Oh. Yeah, so this here is exactly why I did not want to wait to try and Helm combo on turn 2. Okay. You have the Show and Tell in addition. Oh, that's... What the fuck are you doing in not taking my Helm of Obedience? I'll put Helm into play. You are dead. GG's? Yeah. I was curious about that. Yeah. Helm activate, target you. Yeah, opponent says misclick. GG's. That is a high octane game of Magic right there. And now my opponent loses in their draw step as they have no cards in their library. So, win on the scoreboard. Maybe not a win in my heart, but that match was awesome. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. Moxfield is a deck building website for Magic the Gathering, and it also serves as a database for all sorts of cool decks. So whether you are concerned with your own decks, or maybe decks for a specific format, you want to take a look at what people are messing around with for new cards, or maybe you want to specifically follow some people, like say some content creators, and see what they're up to, there's a ton to explore here, so consider checking it out. Okay, what is this hand doing exactly? It's a weird one. So this hand can play a turn 1 Rotting Regisaur, and then, like, discard my last card in my upkeep, right? Imprint, Rotting Regisaur, discard. So I can make a 7/6 on turn 1, and I have to decide whether or not that's good enough. What a world we live in. I think I have better 6-card hands. Dark Ritual is a card. Oh shit, it's Dark Ritual. I am keeping this hand. I'm figuring out how I want to play it from here. I think I get rid of the Regisaur. The Lotus Petal's actually not that good. Lets me play my second card. Though, I'm gonna get rid of the Rotting Regisaur. I think I'm gonna go Urborg, Petal, pass turn, and attempt to Opposition Agent a fetch land. Because I'm like masquerading as depths right now instead of as a mono black deck. Alright. I will go ahead and fire this off end of turn, and it's in play. It doesn't necessarily mean that it lives forever, but it's in play. Let's crash in for our 3 points of damage. Opponent's at 17. I think I just shock myself here, rather than imprint this under Chrome Mox. We're probably not running into game 1 meltdown. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe that's wrong. Okay. It's resolved. Put my crypt under it, pass the turn. I don't think I'm going to fire off the opposition agent immediately here. I'm going to kind of hope... Ooh, plateau. What are we playing against? A little awkward if this is a daze, but... not a daze. I mean, bash in for 6. Kind of feels like this is some sort of weird 4-color control deck. Okay, yeah. Seems like suspicions are warranted. So I'll trade one of these away, hit my opponent for 3. Now, a little awkward that I have this Chrome Mox instead of a land because of Prismatic Ending specifically. Okay, nice. We have now stopped, at least in theory, a land. Oh no, Prismatic Ending for X equals 3 because of my Urborg. Oh, that's poopy. Okay, I need one more mana. Assuming I get one more mana, Passageway Seer is probably very good against my opponent, who, at least as of a few turns ago, didn't actually have counter spells. You may ponder. All of Heliod's generosity. That probably means Shark Typhoon. Okay. That's that last mana that I need. Will it resolve? There's a fetch in response. There is fear. Okay. We're looking for a Force of Will. Ooh, nice. My opponent didn't find it. Okay. They are going for a Swords to Plowshares immediately, which I'm not actually sure is correct, by the way. I'll make my land drop after grabbing my land with the Undercity and call it a turn. Like, unless they're about to just, like, Minsk and Boomy or something, and it just, like, makes sense that they remove that while they have the mana. But I don't expect them to have the green based on the lands that I've seen so far. That was a very fast shuffle. Okay, so the reason why I think they were supposed to wait is I think you're supposed to wait so that I go to the Forge instead of going to Lost Well. Now I can just work towards having a 4-1 skeleton in a couple of turns, followed by Throne of the Dead 3, and I can just scry to try to get deeper this turn. And just dodge the artifact mana that is, likely to be on top of my deck. I'm going to keep both of these. I think these are above average draws. Dauthi Voidwalker. I'll play my 4-mana card this turn, while I think my opponent doesn't have counter magic. Alright, I will just dash here and take my wonderful little treasure token. I think my opponent... Dire Reach Sanitarium. Okay, there's some good degree of greed in the mana base over there. I'll go ahead and take a Menace creature here. I don't think I play this out pre-combat. It's a little tempting, though. It's just, like, very bad versus an instant speed Terminus or something. It's just nice if my opponent has something like a Shark Typhoon and I play this out pre-combat, it forces... I guess they just do it in response. And I'm pretty much always attacking with this, because if it gets blocked, it's still worth 5 life. Let's crash in for my 1 point of damage. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 mana. I could get a 2-drop with this. I think it's just better for me to keep the Voidwalker. If they randomly spike a Terminus. Did not randomly spike a Terminus. Alright, they're going to 11. I am comfortable playing this out since I have Throne of the Dead 3 coming up. If I was not this close to Throne of the Dead 3, I would not play this card here out of fear of, like, Supreme Verdict. Hull Breacher is not unexpected, given Gyro Reach Sanitarium here. Okay, there is a Days Undoing combo, which gives my opponent a whole bunch of mana. We'll see if that ends up being good. Throne of the Dead 3 happens. Ooh. I think I'm more interested in another initiative card than I am the Rotting Regisaur. I want the Lifelinker or the really annoying to block card. I want the Lifelinker. It's very big. So then this immediately gets me a new basic land. I have an Agadeem's Awakening. Somewhat unfortunately, is not giving me back a creature as of right now. I think I'll hold that in hand, though. I think I still attack in with Dauthi Voidwalker. Yeah, you can do that whole loot thing. That's fine. Notably, there's now a Force of Negation in exile for the purposes of Dauthi Voidwalker. So that's not the biggest of deals as of right now. Passageway Seer is massive. And it's hexproof, at least for right now. Okay, there's an attack in. My block is obligatory so that my opponent does not take the initiative. I'll gain some life. You main deck Brotherhood's end me or something, I'll deserve it. Supreme Verdict is fine. Another Hullbreacher is scary, though. And my opponent plays Standstill. Okay, sure. It's a little unfortunate that my opponent was able to take out everything here. I think the play is go left, and then if I ever resolve an initiative card, my opponent immediately dies. This Hullbreacher Gyreach Sanitarium thing is rough, though, because I, like, draw a card, and then my opponent just activates that. And so I don't get to do anything unless it's at instant speed. Maybe that means I do have to go left. I think I lost this one. A Scry. Try to find an instant speed answer to the Hullbreacher. None of that. I am just going to confirm that they are in... Yeah, the Sudden Edicts are in my Game 1 deck. I do need to bottom both of these cards and specifically look for Sudden Edict or another flash card. So I will have to break the standstill here. My opponent gets 3 cards. And the Gyreach Sanitarium resolves, essentially just giving my opponent a treasure and a loot. And I'm in trouble if my opponent takes the initiative. I have very few cards that matter right now. Okay, there's a Prismatic Ending. My opponent takes the initiative. And I think at this point I can't reasonably win. Deciding whether or not I just want to concede now. I think if my opponent puts another threat into play, I'm willing to concede. And I think with that, I am okay conceding, because this requires me to get multiple instant speed cards, sort of as runners. I'm going to value my time here and not mess around with this game any further. So, do I want Leyline Helm versus this Standstill deck? I don't know that I do. I might just be running the Game 1 deck back. Like, that was something that was very much in my favor, and then everything kind of fell apart in a very perfect way. I could go down some artifact mana, but my opponent's got a lot of bullshit that's strong as the game goes very long, so maybe I do just want to be ending things. Could see wanting to play more discard to punch through and protect for the early game, but I think I'm just going to resubmit the Game 1 deck list and see how it feels. Thoughtseize on turn 1, initiative card on turn 2 is pretty reasonable. Hand's going to be the keep. Alternatively, I can just play Swamp Pass and then go Dark Ritual on turn 2. I think I'm going to play it that way. A little awkward if we get like Spell Pierced or something for doing this. Okay. Don't know why we have a random stop in my draw step here. I'm going to be real mad if I'm about to get silenced in response to Dark Ritual. Let's find out. No, I am not. So, Thoughtseize target you. Multiple Swords to Plowshares. Supreme Verdict, Hullbreacher, Standstill. Get rid of Standstill? Let my opponent keep the removal and try to let the initiative do its thing. Seems fair. So let's go Ancient Tomb. And I will play the worst of my creatures first, since I know for sure it is just eating a Swords to Plowshares immediately. Alright, yeah. Swords to Plowshares is my creature. I get a swamp, and we're done with that turn. Alright, so one of those is gone, and the island is gone. We'll go ahead and scry here, I guess. I don't think I'm interested in either one of those. Send those to the bottom. And we'll go ahead and play out another creature into Swords to Plowshares. I don't want to take the turn off to like go and play Thoughtseize into another thing next turn. The plan is get through my opponent's removal, not play around it. Okay, yep, that's fine. I'll go ahead and take the stash here and call it a turn. Next turn I'll have Sudden Edict available for getting rid of this Hullbreacher that is presumably coming. Time for a Skeleton Boy. And I think I'm just playing this as a tapped land. I have no creatures. it's possible a counterspell could happen later that makes me want to have this. This is a little awkward. Maybe for playing around a counterspell I do this, but it does require triple black. I'm going to go ahead and just play this as a tapped land. That may or may not be correct. Okay, sure. This will be the Hull Breacher. Yep, but that's fine. I don't really need to respond to this here since this has split second. So if my opponent goes for a Day's Undoing, I just Sudden Edict them. Okay, that's fine. Sure. Hull Breacher comes on in. Sudden Edict answers the problem, and makes sure that I keep the initiative. Then Throne of the Dead 3 happens, and I'll probably restart the process. I do think my opponent is supposed to fetch here before Throne of the Dead 3 goes off, in case I choose to get a very large opposition agent. Okay. I think I just keep the initiative going here, given that I know Supreme Verdict is a thing on the other side of the battlefield. Let's just grab a Passageway Seer. I guess maybe since I knew about Supreme Verdict, I'm not supposed to pitch that. I'm supposed to play City. Alright. Land drop pass, get a +1/+1 counter at this at end of turn. Supreme Verdict probably has to just clean this up immediately. And then I just start going up the right side again. I think I was... Surgical Extraction on Supreme... or on Sudden Edict. Why are you playing Surgical Extraction in this matchup? Like, legitimately, I do not understand. Yes, that's fine. So we'll go ahead and scry with Lost Well again. This is a pretty big departure from the normal play patterns. Like, normally I almost always go down the left side, but my opponent has done a very good job of answering my creatures. Let's assume those are above average draws here. I will top both. Let's play out another initiative creature and just continue to bully my poor opponent who has one card. Yeah, I'm interested in going to stash again, take another treasure token, throw my creature. I wonder if my opponent has like a Day's Undoing and they're just wondering if they can/should just cast it. Yeah, ponder away. And the second one is shuffling. What did the first one do, actually? No, the first one shuffled. No shuffle with the second one. I pick up a Menace Skeleton. Go ahead and bash in with my creature. Opponent goes to 13. And I think I'm fine playing Rotting Regisaur here. It's committing more heavily to the board than I would like. But things seem kind of dire for my opponent. Hull Breacher is acceptable. Get a +1/+1 counter here. We'll see if my opponent has Day's Undoing as the top card of their library. They don't. At least not yet. Okay, there is a concession. GG's. And we have to do this one more time.
Now this time around my opponent's on the play, and I have to worry a little bit more about standstill.
My opponent's surgically extracting me, which is so strange. A little unsure about Chrome Mox. Thinking about subbing Chrome Mox or Inquisitions. The Chrome Mox just feels very bad versus Prismatic Ending, which a lot of times doesn't have easy targets versus my deck. And when I'm on the draw, I can use the Inquisition to try to break up. Like, Hull Breacher Day's Undoing is an early thing. I think I'm okay with that. It does slow me down a bit. I could just Plague Engineer for my last one and board out all the Chrome Mox. Because generally speaking, other than maybe this one, my black cards are pretty good here. I think I will do that. You technically also, I guess, could make an argument for playing one Surgical as like a follow-up with the discard spells to permanently rip some stuff from my opponent's deck, but I don't know how I feel about that. This is a very reasonable hand if I hit a swamp in 2 draws. This is a risky keep if I keep it, though. So good if I hit a swamp, but I think I ship it. This is fine. Probably just pitch the Lotus Petal here and play a slower game. Isn't necessarily an ideal hand. I just think I have to Inquisition on 1 to just play around with Standstill coming down on turn 2 and becoming incredibly awkward for me. Okay. Feels like my opponent is going to start things off with a Ponder then. And I'm correct. It does take a Shuffle, though. That Lotus Petal is back. I'm not going to play that out because of, like, potentially getting it Prismatic Ending'd away, which would be awkward. Although it does mean my Inquisition could be dazed. I haven't seen a daze in a couple of games, though. Okay. My opponent gets to Force of Will my next thing. I probably just take the Daze Undoing. It doesn't do anything right now, but it could very easily do something that matters a whole lot. I do not require this Lotus Petal. I'm going to play out this Lotus Petal as a bait for that Prismatic Ending. And I'm just trying to treat the Lotus Petal as a Thoughtseize. Do what my opponent opts to do on their turn. This Prismatic Ending is absolutely... Ooh. Not something my opponent's interested in doing here. Do I just play Dauthi Voidwalker? Given that my opponent has Force of Will, the answer is probably just yes here. This might just eat the Prismatic Ending next turn, though. We shall see. This is kind of why I wanted to bait with Lotus Petal to start with. Alright. Goodbye, Dauthi Voidwalker. I knew thee well. How much mana do I have this turn? Not enough to bring this back immediately. So, let's play the Battle Rager. It's going to get Force of Willed. And next turn I have 4, 5, 6, 7, which is enough to return that to play and get the initiative ticking up. It's possible I'll hold this for longer if I draw a live card, though. Not that one specifically. That is annoying in this exact spot, but I don't think you're supposed to be playing Surgical in this matchup. So I think I just try to get closer to Hellbent here, but I will play... I don't think the 2 life matters. I think I do it like this, and I just see if this resolves. If it does resolve, I just play this as a land, and then just accept that I'm throwing away Dark Ritual on my opponent's upkeep. Sorry, on my own upkeep. Alright, Prismatic Ending answers that. Sure. That's awkward, because I know my opponent has Supreme Verdict in hand right now. I think I just hold. Be an awkward time for my opponent to draw a standstill, but we have dodged. Not going to play that land. Hull Breacher is awkward. My opponent would have cast that in response to a removal spell. If they have Daze Undoing as one of their 2 unknown cards, like, that sucks for me. I think I just accept that. I'm going to be super sad if I just lose to Flooding Out here. Especially after I went down a lot of mana for this game in particular. Alright, down to 10. Okay, cool. So Inquisition can't actually take Force of Will, which is a little awkward. Alright, Snapcaster Mage. Targeting Surgical Extraction, sure. Multiple Swords to Plowshares. And a Supreme Verdict. So I can't actually play out this card here. I am going to have to pass my turn. That's very unfortunate. I take 5 from this attack, going to 5. I have to play out this card on my next turn or I'm dead. But I also just think I'm dead if I miss on my draw here. 2 of those. 2 of those is not bad. It's still awkward, though. There's 8 total mana. 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. I can do this without tapping Ancient Tombs. Alright, it has resolved. I'll take my basic land off of that. I don't really need to play right now. I will Dark Ritual, and I guess I could save my Lotus Petal. Sure. Play the Passageway Seer, take the initiative, enter into the Undercity, Forge, make this into a 5/5, so my opponent's, 4/4, and then 5/5 at end step, so that my opponent's attacks are bad. They don't have a white source for Supreme Verdict as of right now, and they've used most of their copies. Well, they've used 2 of their copies of Swords to Plowshares more accurately, I guess. I hit Daze Undoing. That's pretty bad. I'll go ahead and trap my opponent, make them lose 5, down to 11. Guess I will play this pre-combat to get a feel for what my opponent has going on over there. They have a removal spell, they just fire it off in response to this. Another Daze Undoing, multiple standstills. I will take the Daze Undoing here, and I'll crash in. Like this is 5 lifelink, or my opponent can trade both of those bodies, but I don't think that's something that they want to do. Alright, I gain 5 life. Now this turns into a 6/6. My opponent has way more resources than I do. They don't have any removal showing, which is sort of the silver lining here. I got an island. Ooh, Brainstorm Mr. Draw for turn is so good there. That's very, very, very good. Okay, sure. What are you doing with that mana? Sure. No shuffle. Swamp is not what I am looking for as a draw. Try to take the initiative back. My opponent has sacrificed most of their treasure tokens to make a giant shark token. And I am now dead on board to that. Or no, I'm not, because this has lifelink, technically. I do live to see another day. But I think I'm dead. It's very frustrating that my opponent's very bad play of playing Surgical in this matchup potentially won them this game, because that is going to make them keep doing that same sort of thing in the future, as it was just good for them. I think I'm on no outs. Oh, Shark Typhoon can come back, and my opponent can play Standstill this turn. If you're going to do that shit, at least do it in my draw step, where you can take that card if I draw it for turn. Fuck. I'm so upset to be losing to this player right now. Alright. Concede. GG's. Okay, this is sort of a weird hand, where I have an okay mix of lands and spells. I can't exactly curve out. This may still be a keep. Probably plays a turn 3 initiative creature. And if I draw any 3-drop, I have a reasonable turn 2 play as well. Counting Dark Ritual and Artifact mana. I guess I shouldn't count Chrome Mox. So I have 1 Thoughtseize in my hand. So this is 11, 15, 19. This has so many good draws. I think I'm going to keep this one, despite it being a little bit awkward on paper here. Ooh, we are probably playing an Initiative Mirror. In which case, like, I'm on the draw, and I can't play a turn 1 or 2 initiative creature. That's probably not good for me. Oh, no, we're playing against, like, some sort of, like, the Epic Gamble type deck. I'm expecting, like, a Days Undoing here. Okay, sure. Yeah, that last card, like, must be Days Undoing, right? Oh, shit, it's Galvanic Relay. Very awkwardly, that dodges my Thoughtseize. That was supposed to be my initial interaction. My opponent has 0 cards in hand. Yeah, that's awkward. So I'm going to play out my artifact mana here. Probably have to play out Chrome Mox. I think I Chrome Mox this. Call it a turn. And then I have a Seer next turn. A little awkward. My opponent hitting a land there is very good for them. So that allows for 3 mana Burgie naturally, which means that they can net mana off these Lotus Petals. Yeah, that land drop was disastrous for me. That now means that they can Burning Wish this turn successfully. There's 1, 2, 3, 6, 7 total mana. Now they just crack LED here. Oh, they're just going for Echo instead of an empty. Okay. Oh wow, my new hand is incredibly bad. I guess I can F6. Like, my opponent has a defense grid in play. While I technically could play a spell, realistically that's not happening. Green mana. Sure, that's fine. And now my opponent probably plays out a bunch of artifact mana, and then plays some sort of Burning Wish type card to fetch an actual kill. I can just be dead to a Tendrils at any time here. But there's a chance they fizzle. Gamble probably kills me. Galvanic Relay goes to discard. There's another Echo. Ooh. Turn off auto yields. Costs 5. So even with Dark Ritual, that's not actually going to work. I guess Sudden Edict, or sorry, the Veil of Summer is also a thing. Okay, got excited for nothing. Alright, at this point, I think I'm just going to fast forward to whether or not I'm dead. Because otherwise, I'm just going to be narrating my opponent playing artifact mana for the next 5 minutes. Okay, and a few spells later, Tendrils of Agony happens, and I do die. I will concede there. Against this opponent, I will probably take the Leyline Helm combo. I actually might board in all 15 of my cards. Surgical Extraction is the weakest of them. It's very hard to hit Echo with that. Is this initiative cards out? There's probably initiative cards out. Make room for Leyline Helm as a starting portion. And then I probably want to play all of this stuff, just because like this helps with goblins. I can win with whatever as long as I'm not dead. Let's play 2 Plague Engineers there. And then maybe I go down a little bit of fast mana. Since I'm going down some initiative cards, I go down some fast mana. I probably want to get rid of Chrome Mox over Lotus Petal in case my opponent allows me to reload my hand. This is going to be a keep. It's a little bit awkward in that if the Inquisition doesn't punch the way through my opponent's starting hand, I'm probably dead. But as long as Inquisition can buy me a couple of turns, I have turn 2 Dauthi Voidwalker, turn 3 Helm, and a piece of fast mana means that I have a kill. I'd probably not keep this hand on the draw, though. Okay, my opponent kept on 5, so hopefully this Inquisition is disgusting. It is, in fact, disgusting. I probably just take the Burning Wish here, although taking LED is tempting. I'm going to take Burning Wish. The only way this is punishing is if my opponent's top card is exactly an Echo. Sure. Yes. Okay. Okay, I guess that's not true. I guess Gamble also does it. That's frustrating. I think leaving my opponent with the Burning Wish is very dangerous. How's my new hand? 5 mana next turn, which is Opposition Agent and Dauthi Voidwalker. That's not bad. Alright, sure. Anamorphose is not scary. Okay, opponent playing additional mana is scary. Oh, that's not bad if that's all that happens. Sure. Play out a Lotus Petal. Play out a City of Traders. Play Dark Ritual. Start with the Sudden Edict on my opponent. Get rid of the Burgie. And then I get to select one of these. I think I'm going to select Dauthi Voidwalker here. This stops an Echo. And this also sets me up to just kill with Helm of Obedience if I draw any mana source, which is pretty likely. Okay, I did not draw a mana source. That's not the end of the world, though. Do I want to play Opposition Agent instead of Helm? I can just play out Helm, and then it always kills next turn, assuming this stays in play. Or I can play Opposition Agent to stop some gamble shenanigans. I think I play Opposition Agent, but I will crack in for 3. I'm just so likely to draw a mana source at some point to instantly kill my opponent that this grabbing a land or something might be relatively valuable. Okay, Actual Factual Wish. That is now in exile, by the way. LED occurs. Okay. This is a peer. So this means that my opponent draws half of their library, at which point I am probably dead, but it's not guaranteed. Let's skip to something exciting happening. My opponent has played a Jessica's Will targeting me after playing a Rite of Flame. At this point, I'm just going to play an Opposition Agent to just take a card out of my hand so that they get 1 less mana. Meaning that the Jessica's Will just breaks even. Okay, my opponent has played out a Burgie, followed by about 10 pieces of artifact mana. They have wished for a Grape Shot, and that is lethal. At this point, I will concede. GG's. Okay, this hand does not have enough mana. That means it is an easy mulligan. How's this hand? Swamp, Agadeem's Awakening, on turn 1. Turn 1, Dauthi, turn 2, Passageway Seer. This is going to be a keep. Get rid of Sudden Edict. We're playing against Michael Mapson, who often plays depths and depths-like strategies. Very solid player with good range. Possible that knowing my opponent, I should just keep the Sudden Edict over the Dauthi Voidwalker. But Dauthi Voidwalker sets me up to like retake the initiative very well if my opponent is playing a creature-based deck of some kind, like I kind of suspect. Tropical Island, sure. I will play Ancient Tomb over City of Traders this turn for sure, because like this is going to get me a basic land, assuming it resolves, which it might not. Okay, it did not. Now, notably, there is a Force of Will under here. I think I'm just supposed to still attack with this card, though, and pressure my opponent's life total. I have a whole bunch of initiative things in here, and I think if I don't use this as a resource, I'll just regret it. If I trade it for a prismatic ending, like, that is something that would answer one of my future threats, I'm okay with that. Like, this is always going to be a 1-to-1 in some direction. Oh, nice. I think I just passed the turn, and I think I hold this up until my opponent fetches. Burrow occurs. I think I'm supposed to opposition agent in response to that. Now that, like, that's just another way to get a land drop into play. See if my opponent hits a land. Okay, they do. Not one that they can use immediately. We'll get in for my 3 points of damage and see if I can take the initiative. My opponent only has 3 cards, so there's a very good chance that this does actually work. I'll pick up a swamp. I don't think I actually want to play that right now. Yes. Get big. I wonder which one of my creatures I am supposed to forge, just as an aside. With Prismatic Ending going on top, the answer is probably the more expensive creature. My opponent can't cast an Endurance right now, and can only do this for like 3. Yeah, let's make a dick lifelinker. Ooh, buddy. Don't Terminus me, Mapson. Do not do it. I am absolutely willing to play out this card here, given that, like, Trap is the next room. Alright. Trap you, bring you to 3, and then at end step I grow both of these. Very hard to cast something like a Terminus or Supreme Verdict from hand. Very nice. So, do I want Leyline Helm combo? I feel kind of like the answer is no. I could go down some Chrome Moxen. I don't know, there is Uro, though. Uro makes Leyline Helm combo pretty reasonable. What if I don't play Chrome Mox and I don't play Thoughtseize? That means I'm a little slower at starting my nonsense, but I have a combo kill that my opponent also has to respect. Sure? Question mark? There's going to be a lot of strange sideboarding tonight as I try things out. This is very much a brew. Oh god, this hand's beautiful. Voidwalker into Seer, or Voidwalker into Seer, if I feel like that's better. Not like off to the races or anything, but this is pretty strong. Rotting Regisaur isn't something that I'm super interested in playing in the immediate future, but it's quite good. There's a fetch land. Are you going to fetch now? No. Do not blame you. Helm is cool. We'll just be leading on Dauthi Voidwalker, though. This does give my opponent a chance to safely fetch, which they are going to take. I imagine Dauthi Voidwalker either eats Swords to Plowshares or Prismatic Ending in the next turn cycle at some point. Opponent says, I don't know if you're playing Ritual or not. So, Mapson said, I don't know if you're playing Dark Ritual or not, but if this leads to more Dark Ritual into Opposition Agent in leagues, we're feuding. Don't worry, friend. Only like 10 to 15,000 people will see this video. It's no big deal, right? Right? So, Uro doesn't have enough gas in Graveyard yet. This will be 4. So if I resolve Dauthi Voidwalker, I can keep that Uro from coming back in the short term. So I probably play Dauthi Void. Ooh. This got all sorts of interesting now, didn't it? Really awkward that I have 4 mana, but not in a way that lets me both Dauthi Voidwalker and Sudden Edict in this turn cycle. I don't think I'm in a rush to try and just, like, take the initiative and win this game. I'm gonna play this out. If this resolves, cool. My opponent uses a bunch of resource, and then I stick this. That's good. If this gets forced, I also consider that to be good for me. Because then next turn I have 6 mana, I can Sudden Edict the Uro out of the way, and then resolve Passageway Seer. Okay, ending. It is indeed a Prismatic Ending. Another Ancient Tomb is a really awkward draw. I think it's time to take the initiative. Maybe I messed up. Maybe I'm supposed to not make my land drop and then play this afterwards. Ooh, it is a Dress Down. That's very strong. That just means that this is a 2/2. That does not trigger the initiative. This is something that we were talking about on the Eternal Glory podcast last night, although that episode will have been out for a little while for you all by the time this goes live. Okay, there is the Uro. This only gets bigger if I have the initiative, by the way. I've played an overcosted 2/2 lifelinker. Ooh, Mystic Sanctuary putting swords on top is annoying because of this. 2, 4, 5, 6. I have 7. I always use 2 for Sudden Edict. Then I probably use 3 for Rotting Regisaur. Alright. Actually, maybe that's not the line. Let's Sudden Edict my opponent to start with. Get rid of Uro. I'll attack my opponent for 2. Gain 2 life. Going to 23. I think I actually play Helm of Obedience here. And I can just mill that swords off the top of my opponent's library. Damn it! That is unfortunate. Now we're going to be in this really weird sub-game, too. Where my opponent could put a shitty creature on top of their library. Okay, we're not in that sub-game. So now I assume my opponent fetch swords, and then they have an empty board that they can play like a Minsc and Boo or whatever into, and I'm in a lot of trouble. Oh, they're grabbing a Volk there. Fine with F6ing. They already know that I don't have Opposition Agent, or I would have Dark Ritual Opposition Agent in response to that fetch land. Okay. It's time for my opponent's card advantage engine. Brainstorm in exile. That is strong. I can tap the Tundra here, since he has the Vanna for the Swords to Plowshares. Okay, a new fetch land. So this could potentially mean that Uro comes back if my opponent has the mana to make that work out, and Uro is pretty damn good versus Rotting Regisaur here. My opponent's combination of Dress Down plus Uro. Oh shit. I'm not beating that. Yeah, that's a 4/4 Trample Haster that can potentially just fling itself at my creatures next turn, or otherwise just continue to grow. Well, guess I could play 2 Rotting Regisaurs. Here we go. It's something that resembles a plan. Can't really attack this turn, and like my opponent just gets to create a superior creature, but I guess this lets me play towards Helm combo. It buys a good amount of time. Opponent probably has roughly 2 copies of Terminus in their 75. Or maybe like a Supreme Verdict and a Terminus. Yeah, so I expected this. So this is throw Boo at Passageway. Oh, at Rotting Regisaur. What does that mean? Brotherhood's End? Kozilek's Return? Okay. Swords to Plowshare is one of them. Kozilek's Return, yep. So this is now Uro and Minsc and Boo on an empty board. I think I'm going to take 1 draw, and if that draw isn't amazing, I think I concede the game. Like, if it's a Leyline or a Helm, I think I can keep going. But otherwise, I'm basically dead. I was an initiative creature. I think good enough to continue the game, but barely. So that fishes a swamp out of my deck. I can play that. My goal here is probably to chump block the Uro, try to keep initiative, go to Lost Well attempting to scry. Absent, what the hell is this? Prismatic Ending? Alright. Now I am comfortable conceding, or I guess I can take my draw, right? I'm not technically dead next turn. Or no, I am. This is 10 damage now. Another 10 damage next turn. Plus, like, Minsc and Boo can get saucy too. Ugh, that dress down was very strong. I could play Engineer on Hamster. That's a thing I'm allowed to do. Timing on that's kind of particular. I think I'm just going to run this back as is. So, like, Rotting Regisaur is a little awkward in the matchup. So, nope from me. Mana is not consistent. Plays a turn 2 initiative card. That's probably fine. I have to get rid of Sudden Edict here to kind of make things work out. I am going to play Swamp and pass. And be willing to take 3 damage later. So that I can bluff Opposition Agent and not let my opponent know that Ponder is not safe on turn 1. I don't have it. Alright, he went for it. I tried to get a pseudo time walk by making a bluff that cost me just a little bit. If I were my opponent here, I would be looking for Force of Will specifically. Came back. I go ahead and cast a Dark Ritual. And I'll play this, take the 3 damage for it, and attempt the Seer. Yeah, this is what it takes. You have to Force of Will the first initiative thing, and then be ready to try and beat a follow-up. Wasteland's very solid. Dark Ritual's not very good right now. I could play it and then not play out Rotting Regisaur, but I think I'd rather just do that. Or sorry, then not play out City of Traders. But I think I'd rather do this. Which one of these I discard is a little bit awkward. I think it's Sudden Edict so that I can play a 4-drop if I draw one. So I'm in trouble if my opponent has swords here. I think my opponent is supposed to wait till my turn so that I discard another card. Yeah, that's... do I play this now? I think I Sorcery Speed play this. My opponent has been doing a pretty good job of playing around it. It's a little awkward if they have, like, traditional land into Prismatic Ending, but I don't really want to just let my opponent play a fetch land just kind of uninterrupted here. It's a little awkward in that I have 5 mana, but I probably only get to play one of my spells in this turn cycle. I'm going to go ahead and attack in, because an attack on an Endurance is actually safe right now. Okay, that did not matter. Let's attempt a Regi. Okay, no use of my opponent's 3 mana there. Fuck me. That's rough. It's especially rough since I don't have the initiative yet. So I'm not getting any accrued value over time here. Aggressive Iteration is very strong as of right now. I need like an initiative card. Or really any threat. Okay, that's a Prismatic Ending to exile, so that didn't do anything. This is a very awkward Dark Ritual, but it's one that I accept. I just have to try to keep the pressure on here. This, unfortunately... Oh, wow. Pitching a dress down. Anyway, unfortunately, that wouldn't really stop, like, an Uro or something. Okay, we're chilling. I think the chilling strongly favors my opponent, though. Like, my mana is awkward right now, and they have cantrips. I don't really need to play that. I don't think I'm going to. Just causes me to take more damage if I have to cast the Sudden Edict. Alright, please don't have Minsk and Boo. Shit. So my opponent pluses on that. I will begrudgingly Sudden Edict that so that I don't take 4 this turn. But life's pretty bad. Not the worst draw in the world, but it's not super good against an onboard Minsk and Boo. It doesn't actually kill it in one go, which is the problem. I'm going to take 4 damage here. Go to 20. Opponent's got an Expressive Iteration. I expect that I need to Helm combo my opponent, or I lose. There's a Misty. I'm fine playing this here. I don't regret not playing it in response to Expressive Iteration. Yeah. So I'll poke Minsk and Boo to kind of pretend that I'm still playing Magic. They even have the swords. Not unexpected. So my opponent can just attack me for 4, fling for 4, draw 4, and I probably never beat that. Indeed what we are seeing. I'll go to 15. My opponent has so many cards, so many resources, and I still don't have like the black that I need. Found it now. I'll attempt a Leyline. Great, like, Force of Negation target. Oh, it hit play. The Helm is still live for a potential kill. But Prismatic Ending for X equals 4 can pretty easily remove a Leyline, and it's not like Dauthi Voidwalker is that strong here either. Okay, sure. Hamster gets big. I get hit for 4. Opponent has 6 cards. Hardcast Force of Will is there. Hardcast Force of Negation is there. I don't see myself winning. I've been wrong before. That's the 3rd one this game. Sure. I don't think I can play out the initiative card here. I think I have to play out Dauthi Voidwalker so that I have 2 different things that work with Helm if I top deck it. The issue is that I don't have 5 mana. So even if I top deck it, I have to like play it out and have it make it around the table once. I don't think this is happening. Okay, I go to 14 here, which means that the clock hasn't changed at all. Oh. He's confident enough to just blow his dress down here. Just no need to think about it. That actually might have been a bad play to do it with that timing, because now this doesn't have trample and haste. So he can't continue to stack up counters on it this turn. He just wants to... Fuck. Okay. Fine. 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 Okay. Yeah, just fling it anyway. Alright. I will concede here. GG's. Okay. Surprisingly, I keep ending up with these hands with not enough mana, despite the fact that I have a ton of mana sources in my deck. This is probably a keep. I probably throw back Sudden Edict, not knowing what my opponent is playing. I haven't encountered Malamujo in a little while. I start here. Pay the life for this. I think I'm just going to Sorcery Speed my opposition agent. I'll do it in upkeep, so I play around Force of Negation. Dark Ritual. I think my opponent is a good enough player that I don't think I'm supposed to try to go for the absolute highest amount of value. Alright. Force of Will, pitching Daze. Alright. We're probably playing against Blue-Red Delver. Seems to be confirmed. Okay, how do I want to do this? I can pitch Opposition Agent to stabilize my mana and play around Daze and keep my Lotus Petal for later. That's probably what I want to do here. I think Dauthi Voidwalker is better than Opposition Agent, but it's pretty close. Just very awkward if my opponent already has the Lightning Bolt in hand. Why? Why do bad things happen to good people? Drew a card on top. I guess at least they don't also have the Wasteland. That would have been pretty disgusting. Alright, so they get to Surveil. Means I'm getting hit for 3 this turn. Force of Will and Daze are both going to be very good here, as will Murktide Regent, and I know one of my Sudden Edicts is the bottom card of my library, unfortunately. This probably has to be a land. I don't think I'm going to be in the position to pay 5 mana to turn that into a Dauthi Voidwalker. Unfortunate. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm just getting Delvered here. My opponent having just like that natural Lightning Bolt in hand was very brutal in terms of like my tempo for this game. And now against like 6 onboard power. Okay, never mind. Anyway, against 6 onboard power, I'm not even sure that I could play out an initiative creature, but my opponent can just Murktide Regent this turn and make a giant creature. Still can happen. Okay, it's just another cantrip, so I'm not eating Murktide this turn. But at this point, my opponent almost certainly has like Daze, Force of Will, Force of Negation, something that is going to relevantly interact with me, rather. I'm down to 7. Can I play this? Probably don't have a choice. Although I don't expect this to resolve. My opponent has had so many cantrips to find a counterspell. Yep. At that point, I am comfortable conceding. GG. I do want Leyline Helm against this deck since it is so heavily focused on the graveyard. What do I want to take out? It's probably this, but I do think these initiative cards are so much better than this league has shown. I have kind of just gotten my ass kicked every round this league in very unfortunate ways. I think this deck is actually okay. It's not built properly as of right now, but I think the general idea here is not bad. That can be a clean swap. There's some other little things that I can do. Like I can swap Thoughtseize for Inquisition. I can play Plague Engineers so that if I have one of these effects into play, I can kill not Dauthi Voidwalkers, Dragon Rage Channelers with it. Probably not bad. Doesn't take Force of Will specifically. It also doesn't take Murktide though. Maybe I keep this as is. I don't know. Maybe Opposition Agent isn't that hot, and I keep Passageway Seer because it has lifelink, even though like it's a 4-drop. I could see that. That's a little awkward in terms of my mana, but it's probably still a keep. I really hope to draw a land on turn 2. It's not the end of the world if I don't, but I really want one. I don't want to play out City on turn 2 if I don't have to. Tropical Island. It is a Nimble Mongoose. Yeah, so I want those Plague Engineers. Alright. Am I just playing Sudden Edict or am I playing Rotting Regisaur? Probably play Sudden Edict. Although I won't be playing Rotting Regisaur around Daze anytime soon. And if I get Wastelanded, I can cast a Sudden Edict later without it being that big of a deal. Creature is also just really fucking big. Opponent maybe has like 2 Brazen Borrowers that can get in its way or something. I think I'm interested in discarding the black card here. That's interesting. Crash in for 7. My opponent has gained 7 life. I am fine with playing Chrome Mox on this board. We'll play a Sudden Edict. Or sorry, I will imprint a Sudden Edict and attempt an initiative card. Okay, that's good enough for a win. So now that I know that my opponent also has the green, I like the idea of the Plague Engineer. The Vicious Battle Rager becomes a little more reasonable just as something with 5 toughness. But I'm not sure that I actually want to board out any fast mana. Just helps me play around the soft permission spells. What comes out? Maybe I do go down a couple of Chrome Mox. Chrome Mox or Lotus Petal? Probably Chrome Mox. My cards are good. Okay. This is probably a keep. It has the theoretical combo in hand. A little tough to say how I'm going to play out this hand without seeing my next draw, though. I'm probably playing Dauthi Voidwalker on turn 1 in some capacity. Ooh. I think I like Swamp, Lotus Petal, Chrome Mox, Imprint Dark Ritual, play Dauthi Voidwalker around days. If this gets lightning bolted, I can still play a reasonable game of Magic involving the Plague Engineer. And if it doesn't, I threaten a turn 2 win. That Chrome Mox is a bad draw at this stage. I'm going to think for a minute about what I want to put Plague Engineer on. I think I'm going to go with Human. I think it's worth taking Ancient Tomb damage here while doing it. I think I'm more scared of like the graveyard fueling ability of Dragon Rage Channeler than anything else right now. It also might just get bolted here and there's nothing to think about. Doesn't get bolted. Okay, it's just expressive iteration grind time. I wonder if my opponent has something like Collector Oof, Ponder in Exile from EI, and a Bauble as follow-up. Ponder shuffles. So whatever my next card is, my opponent knows it. A Crypt. I'll crash in for 2 with Plague Engineer. Opponent goes to 17. So I can cast this dazably and return a Dauthi Voidwalker. I don't think that's better than just hard casting a Helm. So I am going to do that. If my opponent had open mana, I would deal 3 to myself to play around Spell Pierce. Alright, it's in play. Will not intend on just randomly activating that. Opponent has found Murktide Regent, which is a huge problem for me. Okay, it is not a huge problem. I'm fine with attacking it with my Death Toucher. Like, if my opponent wants to trade resources like this, I'm so good with it. They do not. Just wait on this Sudden Edict for a minute. Split Second is strong. We'll let them get into combat. Then we'll fire off the Split Second card. Now, my opponent does still have 7 cards in hand, so, like, match is very much not over. Hate that my opponent has Gitaxian Probe every turn. Alright, Goose is not scary right now. We're pretty far away from Threshold. Okay, there is a Leyline. Things got interesting. I'll attack with my 2/2. I'm fine trading 2 damage for 1 damage. That is something that favors me as of right now. I can take 3 with the Crypt in order to play a Leyline around a Spell Pierce, but if I do so, I can't then later use Agadeem's Awakening to return Dauthi Voidwalker. So I think I am not supposed to play around Spell Pierce specifically, because I haven't seen it from my opponent yet. I am already playing around single Daze. Okay, there is a Daze. I will pay. That is a second Daze. It is unfortunate, as I could have played around that by taking some extra damage. Need another Black Pip to be able to cast this to return Dauthi Voidwalker. Alright. Bolt plus fetch is 6 cards in graveyard, so another cantrip puts this over the edge. But my opponent does not have it immediately. Is nice. God, they have another Murktide. That is frustrating. So, do I go for Dauthi Voidwalker this turn? If I wait, I can play around days, and I can potentially have a situation where I can just play and activate in one turn and not expose it to something like Chain Lightning. Also return the Plague Engineer at the same time if I wait, but I probably wouldn't want to do that. I'm just going for it here. Alright, cast for X is 2. Alright, my creature's in play. We'll see if that's good enough. Minskin Boo. Okay. I'm just dead to that. My opponent attacks me for 6 and then flings Murktide Regent at me. That's very annoying. Yep, there's the fling. So maybe I win that one if I do take 3. But that was brutal. Okay, so we end up with an unimpressive 1-4 in that league. I still have positive thoughts about this deck list, and I don't just say this as someone who built the deck myself. This general strategy of like playing initiative cards is really good. I think I was on very much the wrong side of variance tonight. Like my opponents had Force of Wills at very timely times. I hit dress downs multiple times. I got Terminus losing multiple creatures many times. I think a lot of people are in very much like try hard prep for Eternal Weekend mode right now, and the initiative, the mono white decks in particular, are on like the top of everyone's mind. So people are very much ready for this. I do think that if you can play with the other initiative card that I wanted to build this deck around, and you can have 12 cards that take the initiative in one color, that this is worth exploring again. I have a couple of thoughts after playing some matches with this. Number one, the black pips of Dauthi Voidwalker were a little bit awkward. And number two, the Rotting Regisaurs discarding my cards when my cards look like this is also awkward. So while I would be interested in trying another mono black initiative deck, I'm not sure that I have the correct supporting cast here. And that's what I mean by I think the deck is misbuilt. Because like this deck doesn't just want to play one initiative card, it wants to just slam them. Like initiative card, initiative card, initiative card, initiative card. So I don't think Rotting Regisaur works. I think Opposition Agent is totally fine. Maybe Dauthi Voidwalker is still good enough, especially considering that like you can play Helm out of the sideboard. But I'm not 100% sure here. I don't know if I have too much fast mana in playing like Dark Ritual, Chrome Mox, and Lotus Petal all at once, because I did definitely run out of gas at times. But again, I feel like things just didn't go my way a lot of times. So for example, if you think about like when I played any of the mono white leagues, like I just got to play Forge so many times, put a counter on a creature and attack. And that happened so few times in this league because so many of my initiative cards got countered, or I ended up boarding them out because like Leyline Helm was particularly good in a lot of the matchups that I played today, since we played against a decent amount of combo and graveyard based decks. Maybe that means I'm supposed to like not play Leyline Helm as a sideboard pivot because it is just like taking up a lot of my sideboard slots and forcing me to take out the initiative cards. Or maybe it means like Leyline Helm should be in the main deck in initiative to the stuff, and you like take out the Rotting Regisaurs and maybe some out of the fast mana to have like Leyline and Helm in there, or at least Helm in there in some quantity. Not 100% sure, but I think the general idea of playing a Dark Ritual deck to take advantage of the fact that that is a very strong accelerant into initiative cards is a good idea, but this one didn't quite work out. Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, as this was kind of a close but no cigar league. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, click the like button on the way out, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. See ya!